Dictators seek control of the narrative and the guns. Our founders knew this, which is why the first two amendments in the Bill of Rights aimed at limiting government's ability in these areas. We see how National Socialist Adolf Hitler got away with his heinous acts of violence and genocide. It starts with consistent propaganda lined up in favor of the narrative you're trying to create while simultaneously limiting opposing speech. Sound familiar? The power ultimately comes from the collective support of people who can't think for themselves or are afraid to go against the new popular narrative. Out of fear, ignorance, or just wanting to be on what appears to be the winning team, some agree to support the evil behavior. If dictators have no support, they have no power. We've seen socialist Democrats in the United States desperate to control the narrative to ultimately influence weak-minded people.
That he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job.
We know they're lying, so no big deal, right? Why should we care? Well, part of Hitler's strategy was not only to control the narrative, but to dehumanize and criminalize his opposition while convincing his followers to support him. We're seeing this behavior coming from the very socialist Democrats we have allowed to control our Congress. Should we continue to pretend they're not doing what Hitler did? From their accusations of racism and sexism to a constant barrage of media-spun propaganda to the politically driven incarcerations of January 6 Trump supporters. Now, according to leaked FBI documents provided to AmmoLand and posted on attorney Stephen Stamboulier's Twitter page, the left appears to be moving forward through the FBI with yet another strategic maneuver. But this time, the attack is aimed at patriot groups and Second Amendment supporters, the lifeblood of American spirit. That means you. The accusation is that the following symbols are used by anti-government or anti-authority so-called violent extremists, regardless of these groups' support of liberty, justice, and the right of the people to decide their own fate here in America. The groups being labeled militia violent groups are those who use symbols such as the Boogaloo flag, the ANCAP symbol, the Punisher skull and warrior culture symbols, the black flag and electrical resistance symbols, anything Second Amendment and Moulin Labey related, including Come and Take It and the Spartan helmet, the Gadsden flag, the Liberty Tree, and any Revolutionary War imagery. This includes Minuteman imagery used by some Second Amendment rights organizations. But maybe even most disturbing of all is the demonization of quotes from our founding fathers and the Betsy Ross flag. The Betsy Ross flag. It was the flag that represented the founding of our country. The political left has already done everything they can to demonize the Confederate flag, and it appears that they now have the FBI on board to try and collectively destroy multiple symbols that represent freedom to so many people. So who are the real bad guys here? Those who support freedom, the Bill of Rights, and our founding? Or those who are condemning real Americans for expressing their love of America? Notice how we don't see Antifa or BLM imagery in the list of violent extremists? Regardless of the fact that during 2020, those groups wreaked havoc across the country when they burned down buildings with people in them, assaulted cops, and terrorized the nation, all politically driven and encouraged by Democrats, including Vice President Kamala Harris, who supported a bail fund called the Minnesota Freedom Fund to keep her left-wing criminals out of jail and on the streets. Instead, images of the Revolutionary War are extreme. He who controls the narrative controls the people. Just like Hitler, it would appear Democrats are writing the rules to this twisted modern-day game of political vengeance and domination. They can't erase American history in the Second Amendment, so it would seem they're trying to demonize those who support it. They've always wanted control, but they couldn't keep their dream of communism and gun control quiet. They just couldn't help themselves because they wanted the votes and they had an incessant need to express their hatred toward the God-given right to keep and bear.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
We need to treat gun violence like the public health emergency it is.
We're going to start taking steps towards sensible gun safety.
Calling for a ban and buyback of every single assault weapon in America.
I ran on a platform of banning assault weapons.
It's clear that we must renew the assault weapons ban. We must repeal the liability shield that protects gun manufacturers.
If they're acting on behalf of America, why would they need to disarm Americans? Unlike Cuba, North Korea, China, and others, socialist Democrats made one mistake in their quest for dominance, and now they're trying desperately to play catch-up. You see, they were supposed to get the guns first. I'm Dan Wass, and this has been another AmmoLand News Second Amendment Update. Share this with your family and friends to help support AmmoLand News, America's oldest Second Amendment news outlet.